So today, first question of the day is going to be, do you have any advice on running parent meetings? Parent meetings. Parent meetings. Such a blessing, parent meetings. And I say that, tongue in cheek a little bit because, I do like parent meetings. I don't think I've ever had a really bad parent meeting. And if it was a bad parent meeting, it wasn't because of the parents. It's usually because of me. Usually because I was not prepared or I didn't do things right. And I don't want you to suffer as I did. So I thought out, a few things that you need to know. Let's see, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There may be 6 ways to make your parent meeting the best because everybody wants to have a good parent meeting because you are presenting yourself to your parents. You are saying, I am a competent person. And I think these elements will help lend themselves to parents believing that you are competent and you do care and you do have your stuff together, because I think that's what parents are looking for. The first thing is this. First tip to having an excellent parent meeting is time. It is both the time that you choose to have the parent meeting and actually how long that parent meeting will be. So time is an element there. So if you're going to tell them that this is going to be a 15-minute meeting, then make it a 15-minute meeting. Don't make it a 30-minute meeting. Don't make it a 25-minute meeting. Make it a 15-minute meeting, depending on what you're wanting to talk about, right? Is this a meeting about camp? Is this a meeting about future projects? Is it, what kind of meeting is this? And I think that goes along with number 2 here. Make sure you're having it at the right time of day. Is it after church? Sometimes that's the easiest. Have it after church. Or if you say we're going to do it on a night, maybe it's a date night for parents. And you say, hey, we're going to meet at a restaurant and we're going to have a meeting there. Now, it's not conducive to a lot of, graphics and doing those type of things. That's more of a discussion-driven parent meeting where you're just wanting to celebrate with parents, or you're wanting to just discuss 1 or 2 things or get feedback from parents. So I would say that's the first thing, is determine your time. What time of day you're going to do it. After church is usually good. After a Wednesday night, usually good, but you're not going to get the maximum amount of parents because most parents are there on Sundays, not Wednesdays. And make sure that you say, look, this is a 30-minute meeting. So they know, and you have to keep that stuff to 30 minutes, whatever you're going to share. And then number 2 is purpose. What is the purpose of this meeting? Is the purpose a general meeting? Is it a specific meeting? Is it about camp? Is it about the overall youth program? Is it about something very specific in the youth program, like we're changing dates, things of that nature? Which then begs the question, do you need to have a parents' meeting at all? And I would encourage, yes, you should have a parents' meeting, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, one in the fall, one in the spring type of thing, one when you're getting ready for summer and one when you're getting ready for the new year, any changes, things like that. But don't have a meeting if if it can be communicated through an email, through you doing a video, through just general phone calls and calling people individually. Whatever that is, if you don't have to have the meeting, don't have the meeting. Make sure that if you're having the meeting, that meeting has a very distinct purpose to it and that you are going to not waste their time. Back to the time issue. Parents are busy. Parents want to go to lunch after church unless, that's number 3, food. If you're going to do something with parents, if you're going to have a meeting with parents, make sure there's food there. And I don't mean you have to have a full decked out dinner. You could do once a year, do a nice dinner, not a nice dinner, but something. It could be something you prepare in your church kitchen. It could be something you bring in, something where parents don't have to do anything, right? They're at the meeting already. Don't make them work. Maybe have another ministry help and facilitate that meal for you, and have food there and make it something simple. If it's a slightly longer meeting, yes, you want to have like a lunch meal type of thing. If it's a short meeting, say, hey, we're only going to keep you for 30 minutes, something like that, then have something, a snack of some kind. It doesn't have to be a big deal. But yeah, you want to make sure you're looking at some things to make your parent meeting outstanding. Well, look at the time, look at the purpose of that meeting, and whether or not you need a meeting at all. Make sure you have food. Then make sure you have a good agenda. Okay, what is your agenda? Make sure parents, when they come in, have something for them to look at and say, hey, these are the things I told you we were going to talk about. These are the things on the agenda. And here's why I say you should have an agenda, and the agenda should be given to the parents. Because if you don't have an agenda, you need to be careful, because sometimes parents come in with their own agendas. It's just facts. And so you have an agenda so that, number one, you stay on track. But number two, it keeps parents on track. Say, this is what we're going to be discussing. So what do you do, Paul, if a parent comes in and they have their own agenda? Say, well, that's covered. Listen, I'll be happy to meet with you after this meeting on that question. But thank you for asking. That's a good question, and we'll talk about that afterwards. And so in your agenda, whatever that may be, something simple you give to parents, say, hey, this is, and it will have all your, not just the list of the meeting, but the content. What exactly are we talking about? Are there any links they need to follow? Any steps they need to follow? All the little things are in the agenda of things you're going to cover, which then becomes your talking points. That's where you're going to say, hey, this is what this meeting's about. Let's go through it real quick, make sure everybody's on the same page, and stick to your agenda. Once again, don't allow other things to take your agenda and let it just fly off with it. Stay on your agenda. Make sure you have some folks in the room that can help you stay on your agenda. Maybe you say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so, listen, make sure I stay on point. Would you please make sure I just stay in the bounds of where we're at here? Just give me a signal if you feel like I'm straying off. Just give me a hand signal, right? Help get parents to help you out a little bit. Or if there are certain parents that need to share, maybe you don't need to share the entire agenda. Maybe Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so need to share that part of the agenda because that was their idea. Maybe Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so need to share this particular part of it because you want them to, that's something they feel very passionate about. So yes, there are times when you need to share the whole agenda, but you can also get other parents to testify and say, hey, why are we making this change? Hey, Mrs. Wilkinson, would you share your story about your child, about why, and maybe there was something that came about because of that. And I think that's a good way to involve parents to where they're not just audience members, but they're participants in what is going on. And then don't forget to thank them. Don't forget to thank them. How can you thank them? Number one, keep the meeting on time, right? Stay with your promises. Whatever you promised that this meeting was going to be, stay on point. And then you thank them by maybe giving them a gift or maybe some prizes. That's another way to get parents, to show up for parent meetings, is say, hey, we're going to draw some prizes. Could be movie tickets, could be a free thing to camp, could be, your whole year's paid of everything. It can be exciting. You're going to give them a gift. Now, it can be a book, and everybody gets the same book. It could be, once again, prizes like that where you draw names. It's fun. It's a fun thing to do. It breaks it up, but make sure that's on the agenda. Don't just do it and go, oh, meeting's over, and then say, no, we're going to give away. Make sure prizes are on the agenda, okay? You got to be able to do that, okay? So those are the things: time, purpose, food, agenda, and thank you. So there's 5. You could say 6. 6 if you want to put in there. If you want to have a great parents meeting, have your pastor open in prayer. Invite your pastor. That's number 6. Invite your pastor to have a great parents meeting. Invite your pastor to come and open up a prayer. If he does not want to stay for the whole meeting, that's fine, but at least he comes in and he opens the meeting in prayer and signs off and says, hey, I'm with this youth pastor. I am co-signing what's happening here today by his presence being there. He's not sneaking in the back door, spying on you. You've invited him to be a part. So yeah, let your pastor come in and be a part of what's going on. Maybe he shares part of the agenda. Maybe he is on the agenda. Hey, parents, this is why this change is going forward. And it's not coming from you, the youth pastor. It's coming from your pastor, which, let's face it carries a little bit more weight and a little bit more authority. But make sure you've had those conversations before you invite them to open up in prayer. Make sure all the kinks are worked out, right? Make sure that's all worked out.